Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Liam Gribb, and today we'll be talking about how God reveals himself throughout many different stories in the Old Testament. So, for this, we have 5 different areas I want to cover. Starting off early, we have in Genesis 3, which is also known as the Fall. I have another passage from Genesis, which is a very popular story, Noah's Ark. I'm sure you know what that is. Then we have a hero. We'll be talking about the book of Joshua. And we have a prophet, and my prophet for today will be Micah. And finally, we have a psalm, which is Psalm 19. So we'll start off with Genesis 3. In Genesis 3, the fall, it is the story of Adam and Eve eating the apple from the tree. And I mean, it's pretty obvious how God reveals himself in this story, because God himself is in the story, and he's there to punish Adam and Eve for their sin, giving Eve the pain of childbirth, and Adam being sentenced to toil in the fields for eternity, and one day will return to the dirt which he came. So, yeah. Second, we have Noah's Ark. Now, Noah's Ark, obviously, we have man's intentions were evil, so God sent Noah to collect a pair of each animal to save while God flooded the whole world, ending all he created. Again, another one is pretty obvious how God reveals himself in this. He gives Noah instructions to save the animals and his family because he is the one without sin. So, yeah, this is another one where God is in it. And, yeah, so next we have our hero, the book of Joshua. The book of Joshua is Joshua replacing Moses as leader of the Israelites, and he's leading them to take the promised land, which God promised to Abraham in the covenant he made years before. So, just like Moses, Joshua has a vision or experience with God where God reveals all his intentions that he has for Joshua and tells him to lead the Israelites into the promised land, which is theirs, rightfully theirs. So, yep. Next, we have our prophet Micah. Micah uses, Micah's main thing was he was calling out the government, the rich and elite, saying that they worship money and power more than they worship their love of God and their fellow men in the country. So Micah, who's a prophet, so he has a vision where God tells him that the elite people of the society are not worshiping him, and that the government is corrupt and the people of Israel are suffering for it. So Micah, who is a poor prophet from a rural town in Israel, he's not from Jerusalem, comes to Jerusalem and starts to tell everybody that the government is corrupt and that they're taking their money, and that the other prophets there are also corrupt. They're spreading false statements to further get their power. So God reveals himself in this by sending Micah to remind people of what's really important, that it's God. God is important, not money and power, not greed, not lust, not all that. So, yep, that would be our prophet. And moving on to our psalm, Psalm 19. Psalm 19 is a praise psalm. It's praising God's love for us. It has lines like it's more precious than gold and all. This is saying that God is most important. Now, like many people these days idolize machines and technology, and it is good to put God first, again, like he should be. So God will reveals Himself in this psalm, saying that, reminding us that like He is number one, that He is our number one, the number one thing we should worship. We should not pray to false gods, other gods, and all that. So, yep. One more question we have is, are the revelations made in these stories prevalent in today's society? And that is true. Like that we do what God wants us to do, and we put God first before machines and other things. I believe that this needs to be said and spoken in today's society. So, yes.